Hi everyone and welcome to my channel Colour City Textiles. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shannon and I live here in the Central West region of New South Wales, Australia. It is approaching the end of May and that means that we're coming into the end of autumn. Now I have been wearing my knit pretty much all the time and a lot of scarves as well. This beautiful one here I got is 100% lamb's wool. It is made in Scotland, however I did buy it in Cornwall because it is a Cornish tartan, which is pretty much the furthest place you can get in the UK away from Scotland. But it is beautiful, it's soft, it's warm, and that's exactly what I need right now. Today a spinning tip that we're going to be looking at is steaming fibre. We're going to be exploring it a little bit and the reasons why you might want to steam your fibre in preparation for hand spinning. It's actually a really useful trick that's not widely known or not widely used, but it is a really valuable one to add to your sort of arsenal of skills or your arsenal of tips and tricks. Gillian Merino, who's the author of Yarnitecture, is a big advocate for steaming fibre, and she does use it in this book. However, she does use it as a finishing technique, and I'm going to be using it today as a preparation technique instead. Now, why might we want to be steaming fibre before we work with it? Your fibre might be, or your tops, which I've got here, might be compacted before you start spinning with them. So steaming your tops can actually open them up a lot more and make it a lot easier to break those tops apart in preparation for spinning. Maybe you've started doing a little bit of sampling with your wool tops and you're finding that the fibre is just really quite difficult to work with, especially if it's 100% wool or 100% merino wool. In the processing of merino wool, it can be that the fibre is actually stretched, or not stretched so much, but it might be that the fibre has a lot of its natural crimp taken out of it, and the actual fibres or the actual scales along the wool have been flattened so that the fibre doesn't actually grip to each other as much when you are in the process of spinning it. And by steaming the fibre, you can actually add a little bit of that crimp and a little bit of that grippiness back to it. And it can make spinning merino a lot easier to work with, especially if it is a commercially made tops. Now, when I'm steaming tops, I have in the past used a vegetable steamer over a pot of boiling water, and I have found that it's quite effective. However, if you're working with commercially dyed tops or hand dyed tops, you might find that you might not want to be using a steamer, especially if you're using the same one that what you're cooking with, because unless you hate your family, you don't want to be putting anything that's got possible chemicals or toxins in where you're going to be cooking your food. So you would need to have a separate steaming pot to be working with that. So it does work over the stove. I have used that technique before. It does need a little bit more time to dry because it does add a lot more steam than what a garment steamer does. Now, I usually use a garment steamer like this one. This one's a Russell Hobbs one. You can pick it up at most department stores or from your local Harvey Norman. You can also use your steamer function on your iron if that's easier for you. You can get steamers that sit on a stand, but I find that I just don't have the storage capacity to be able to have one of those. So a handheld garment steamer is actually my go-to because I can store this a lot more easily than one that comes on a stand. Today I'm going to be showing you how I steam a few different tops that I do have. They're pretty much all wool tops or have a blend of wool in them. And a couple of them I do have been in my stash for a fair while, so they've sort of settled a little bit into their braid. So I actually need to open them back out again in order for me to have an enjoyable spin, because I don't spin for the challenge, I want to spin for enjoyment. Now the one I'm going to be working mostly on is this one here, which is from Willow Vale Wool. Now Willow Vale Wool is run by a lovely couple called Michael and Jenny Hedges, and they come from the Yass region of New South Wales. Now the Yass region of New South Wales, it is an absolutely lovely region. It is basically known as being the area that was chosen for our nation's capital, Canberra, which is why Canberra is basically next door to Yass. The Yass region is also known for a very amusing reason. But anyway, back to the fibre. Now this fibre is a lovely merino. It's a ultrafine merino. and I got 100 grams of these wool tops while I was at the River Yarn Festival in Carcoar in April. Now that day was my birthday, so I got to go around and have a few different items and got to do a few different birthday purchases. I didn't ask for anything except for some money so I could spend it while I was there. Now, it is a lovely event to go to, so I'd suggest strongly that anyone who is interested in fibre arts goes to the River Yarn Festival when it's on. And it is a lovely event to be able to promote the Central West region to everyone who comes to visit. Now, this fibre, I walked past it and I could not leave without having some. It was just, I just went up and touched it and I said, I've got to have some. It's beautiful. Now, you will notice that when I did get it out of the packet, it's not very fluffy. It hasn't fluffed up a lot. And you can also see that there's little striations within the fibre, which means that you can still see the processing marks within it. However, when you do steam it, you'll actually notice that it does puff up a lot because the crimp is actually being re-entered into the yarn or into the fibres itself. So it doesn't add a lot of puffiness to it. However, it does make it more enjoyable to spin. So I will be using that one first. Another couple that I do have is I've got this maroon fibre that I got from the wool shop in Leura, which is also a really cool shop to visit if you're ever having to go back and forth to Sydney from the Central West region. It's located about halfway through the mountains, so it makes a really good stopping point. And you can also see with this one that you've also got the marks across it. I'm also going to be looking at doing this braid, which is from Kathy's Fibres. I got this one about 2-3 years ago, I think, from the Bendigo Sheep and Wool show. So because I got it a little while ago, I just want to open it up and I want to add a little bit of freshness to it. And another couple I've got this Alpaca Merino tops from Cat and Sparrow. I got that as one of my prizes from the Sheep and Wool show, and it was a lovely, generous donation. And again, it's just been in my stash a while, so I want to just add a little bit of freshness to it. And same with this Sweet Georgia yarn that I bought off the Spinners and Weavers Buy Swap and Sell group on Facebook. It's been in the stash a while. I just want to open it up, freshen it up, so I can actually spin and just have an enjoyable time spinning all of them. Now, I'm quite lucky because I've got a warping board that I use to steam my fibre on, because I just hang it over the edges and just steam as is. But you can also set yours up such that it's over an airing rack that you might have in your laundry, or you can hang it over the back of a door or something similar, or just even hang it over a coat hanger and hang it up somewhere and steam that way. But there are many different ways to do it, but I just find this is easier because I don't have to move out of my craft room to go and do it, and I can sort of have it all in one area. As well, if you don't like the smell of wet wool as well and you don't want it stinking out your house, probably keeping it in one area is a good way to go. Or you can even do your steaming outside if that's easier for you. So I've got my garment steamer. It's ready to go. It's plugged in. I've made sure I've got plenty of water in the base of it, and you can see as I open it, you'll see the steam coming out. Now, you'll see here, once I start steaming the fibre, you'll see that it will start opening up a little bit. And you'll see as I work up, that starts puffing up a little bit. You can also work on the back of it to make sure that you get both sides. And you'll notice that a fair few of those processing marks leave the fibre itself. Now, can you see how much puff there now is to that fibre? Okay, and you'll see that it's actually opened up a lot, and you can actually see how fine the fibre is as well and how soft it is. Now, big recommendation, don't over touch it while it is still having the steam working through it. Now, if you start touching it a lot, you'll end up felting the outside of your fibre, and you do not want that to work with, because then it doesn't become enjoyable. Now, just so you can see it up close in action. see there now a little bit of the crimps actually starting to be added into the fibre. Sorry for the camera going in and out of focus, but you know, it's the way of technology, isn't it? So you can see here, my wall is a little bit wet behind it, but luckily I don't have a big issue with mold or anything in my house. And I do get a fair bit of ventilation in this room. But you can see here is now opened up quite nicely. And you can see that can see that beautiful fibre opening up and becoming easier to spin. Now, just to show you here a little bit of before and after, so you can see here that we've got what it looks like before, and this is after it's been steamed on both sides. So you can see how much it's actually opened up, how much fluffier and softer it is. It was already soft here, don't get me wrong, but it felt like quite slippery, whereas over here it feels like it's got a little bit more grip to it. So it shouldn't fly out of your hands as much when you're actually spinning it. So with this one here, you'll actually see, like, yes, I'm opening it up with my hands, but it is actually going to be quite slippery to work with and will fly through your fingers if you've got your tension up too high. Whereas with this, it won't actually fly out of your hands too much when you're actually spinning it. And you can see that there's a massive difference there between the two different fibres. Now with this one, you can see from the before photo, it has opened up a little bit more. Not as much as I was hoping for, but I think it is going to be a lot more easier to work with now. And it's a lot less compacted than what it was, because I realised when I was working with it and when I was steaming it that it was quite compacted. So if I was to actually make sure these tops were fully opened out like that and then steam them, you'll probably see the effect a lot better. But this is easy enough to work with because this is going to be made into a couple of scarves and some mittens for my daughters for school. Now this one is the Sweet Georgia Yarns Panda. So this one is a mixture of super wash merino, bamboo and nylon. So I'm interested to see whether or not this technique will actually work with a merino blend or not. So it is a very, very silky feel, and that's probably because of the bamboo and nylon within there, as well as the superwash merino. So it's interesting to see how the superwash merino will actually behave compared to a non-superwash. So you can see already that in comparison to each other, that this one's got a little bit more open and a little bit more energized, whereas this one's still quite stringy. So you can see here it's not really to get your hands in there, whereas this now, it's a lot softer, it's got a little bit more drape to it, and it just feels a lot easier, like it's going to be a lot easier to work with. So let's get going. Now this is like in a spiral, so it's probably best to make sure that it's not all twisted up before you get started. Because as you use it more and more and more, you don't want the you don't want to be steaming just like literally over spiraled yarn, because it's going to just not work very well. Need to fill up. I didn't notice until now, but I've got a lot of it now on my fingers of this one, so I think it's going to be the kind of fibre where it will stick to things, so best probably wear an apron when working with this fibre. However, I did actually notice that there was a lot of, like, it feels quite drapey, like, and it will have good drape when it's finished as a yarn. I was actually planning on making a pair of socks out of this one, because of the fact that it had the nylon and the superwash merino and the bamboo in it. So I was actually thinking a pair of socks, but now I'm really not sure, because it just feels too drapey and nice to become a pair of socks. So we'll have to spin it and then see what it feels like it's going to become, whether or not it will actually be a pair of socks or not. Who knows? So this is what the Sweet Georgia Panda now looks like now that it's been steamed, and you can see here just how beautiful this fibre is. It's really soft, it's really open, it's opened up that braid really, really nicely. So you can still see a few of those processing marks I was talking about earlier, but it just feels like it's a lot more open now, and I'm not going to have to fight the braid as much to actually, if I am going to be spinning this in long strips, I'm not going to have to fight as much to actually open up and to create those strips either. Now this is the yarn now that's been unbraided. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to pull it open a little bit. So that involves me getting the ends. I'm actually going to open it up a little bit so it's a little bit more flat, and then I will then proceed to steam it. So I actually forgot to start filming the first bit, so let's keep going. Okay, now this is the fibre once it has been steamed. You can see here it's got a little bit more puff to it. It feels a little bit more energized now that it's been steamed. And it also feels like it's going to be a little bit easier to actually pull apart, not so smushed together as the fibres are. So you can tell it's beautiful, intense colours. I can't wait to work with this one. I've been enjoying a lot of fractal spinning lately. I might do a video on that in the future, but I'll probably do this as a fractal spin. Now this fibre from Cat and Sparrow, I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful with it because it's got the 1/3 alpaca in it. Now the 1/3 alpaca means that it will be a little bit more prone to felting. So I'm just going to have to be a little bit more gentle, maybe hold the steamer a little bit further away from it. But it does have the 2/3 merino in it, so that is going to puff up a little bit nicely. So you can see here that just using my fingers, I am sort of pulling it apart, but I think it's going to be, oh, it does feel so beautiful though. It feels really nice, really soft, and I think it's going to be a very, very warm fibre to work with. So let's steam and see what happens. So you can see here it's opened up a little bit already. Okay, I might actually open up the braid a little bit as I'm going so that I can actually steam it a lot easier, so I'm not having to touch it as I'm steaming, because I'm just really concerned about felting with this particular braid. You can see here, big difference between the two of them. Have to keep reminding myself to be gentle. So this is the fibre once it's been steamed. You can see here it's really nice and open now. It's really soft. I'm thinking with this one I'm going to definitely have to spin it from the fold. I have worked with a few of her blends before, especially the ones that have silk merino and silk alpaca, and I found that if I didn't spin it from the fold, I lost a lot of the fibre just due to it rubbing against me, and I lost it pretty much all to my apron. So with this one, definitely a spin from the fold, and yeah, not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but it'll probably end up being like a nice scarf or something that's quite warm, because you've got the merino wool in there, so that's a really nice next to skin fibre content, and then you've got the alpaca for warmth. So I think it's going to be a really, really good scarf, this particular fibre. So I have finished all my steaming now for these lovely fibres that I've got here. And you can see now how different they are compared to how they were before I steamed them. They're just light, they're airy, they're soft. They just really feel as though they're going to be an absolute pleasure to work with. They're going to draft really nicely. They're going to just be oh, I just can't stop touching them. They just feel so beautiful. And I really can't wait to work with this Superfine Merino from Willow Vale Wool. It's going to be just so nice. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, today, if you did like this video, I'd really, really appreciate it if you do like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be coming to you in the next few weeks with some more tips and tricks for your spinning journey. And if you would like to support me in doing this, you are able to buy me a coffee through my link in the description box below. This is my first video, so thank you very much for staying with me to the end, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks, everyone.